Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Monday's edition of the Paranormal Question of the Day. We'll be right back right after the intro. And we're back. So today we're going to have an interesting guest with us today with a different perspective on the paranormal field. We have Miss Cynthia join us tonight, and we have Missy Lathram, right?
Lathrop.
Lathrop.
Close enough.
Laser.
I still screwed it up.
It's okay. There's no judgment, no hard feelings.
And she is part of Paranormal Five. They are from New England, Maine, and I'll let you explain your team name and everything, how it became, and
Yeah.
go ahead.
All right. So, like you were saying, my name's Missy, and my team is Paranormal Five. We are a Maine family-based team. Our team is made up of my husband and our three kids. My kids' age range is 11. 8, I'm sorry, I had to think about that, almost 9, and 6. And we kind of believe and kind of love the idea of bringing children into this field. Kind of being open and honest with them when it comes to investigating and the paranormal and the afterlife, because it can be a scary thing at any age.
Mhm.
And we also, within Paranormal Five, we do monthly paranormal meetups in our town. We also do nonprofit investigations at local nonprofit um, locations that are open to having paranormal investigators. So we do big events like that, and all the money that we raise goes back to the location. We actively try to bring our kids onto those investigations. Sometimes it's typically just our oldest, just because of the crowd and everything. But um, we do a lot of things for our community. We like to kind of give back in spooky ways to our community.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, what was your what was your first investigation that you did with you and Richie to start out?
Me and Richie's first investigation, I would have to say that we went to a local, it used to be a nursing home. And actually, my mother in law used to work there. She worked there like kind of as a contractor, kind of coming in and out. It was an old abandoned nursing home down in Kittery, Maine, which is no longer standing. And we investigated there together. I've always been very active in the paranormal. It's something that it's always been a huge part of me and something that I always kind of find myself coming back to.
Mhm.
So I kind of just like, it is my normal, not paranormal. And Richie really wasn't involved into this field. So
Okay.
like that was kind of like his first kind of popped this paranormal cherry. Um,
And you don't hear that too often, do you?
no, you don't.
Let's go to locations, right, Cynthia?
Well, it all depends on who's with you.
That is true. So, what was your first encounter with the paranormal before you and Richie?
Oh
Uh,
man. Uh, Honestly, like I can't pinpoint like my very first paranormal experience. Like I said, like the paranormal's kind of always been a huge part of my life. I was actively watching unsolved mysteries and sightings as a child growing up. I was reading all the books that you possibly could get out of your school's library. I was always that weird kid. And it was actually something that my parents kind of grew to like and want to kind of involve themselves into this hobby.
okay.
And so we would plan trips and stuff, like family trips around going to Gettysburg and go investigating. So it's kind of always been there. And like I said, I can't really pinpoint like my first, like, oh my goodness. It's just almost just like I just knew that it just all made sense. Like even at such like a young age, like people having these experiences and these claims, it just I never disbelieved it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just knew that it was, I just believed.
Right. Right. I mean, it's um. Hey, Amy. So you know, for me, it's been like when I was 7 years old and stuff like that. That's when my first encounter with the paranormal was. So, Cynthia, you want to shed some light on that, on your paranormal experiences?
Um, Mine started when I was about 14. Um, I would be at my grandparents' house, and they had a lot of activity at their house. The most couple of the most memorable ones were sitting on the couch, and they had a big old mantelpiece mirror above the fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
Look up into the mirror and um, see a white mist coming down the stairs, and then you look back behind you and there's nothing there. And you look back up into the mirror and it's still there. Um, Sorry, my animals are like attracted to the computer now that I'm doing a podcast. Um,
Right.
and then the other one was, so me being a very intelligent 14-year-old went to go see The Exorcist Part 3 in the theater with a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So we get back, and the room that I'm staying in has my great grandmother's original wooden sewing chair, rocking chair, and it's in the corner of the room. And I happened to wake up for something in the middle of the night and noticed that it was moving. And I flipped on the light,
Jeez.
thinking I'm seeing things, and I wasn't seeing things. So I put it in the closet, thinking, okay, if I can't see it, it will stop. I will go back to bed. I will be fine. No, I could hear it
Oh,
for the rest of
wow.
the night. And nope,
Wow.
I just, yeah. After that, various places that I lived, I had experiences with footsteps and voices and all of that, and it just kind of built up from there. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really interesting.
yep.
Now, do you feel like that was your grandmother just kind of checking in? Like, do you feel like that was her?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know. I
Huh.
My guess would be probably so, because it was her chair. It was something that she loved to do. According to my grandmother, it was something that my great grandmother loved to do with was her sewing.
Mm-hmm.
So possibly, I don't know. I guess being 14, you don't really think about asking.
Yeah, you don't think about asking all the right questions at the moment.
Yeah, you don't think about asking all of these questions. You just kind of
Hey, Sharon.
get scared and go with it.
Yeah. The thing that got me big time was I was when you're 7 years old and you're messing with the Ouija board and you have no idea what it is, and I'm just like, whatever. You think it's a toy, right? So, a few weeks later, we decided to me and my parents and went to his friend's house, and I went downstairs and played pool and darts like a normal 7-year-old would by themselves. And I remember there was a tall lamp behind me by the pool table about 20 feet away, and a TV on a black and white TV on the wall that you had to physically turn on. And I was playing pool, and next thing you know, the TV pops on by itself, and
Oh, wow.
I'm like, okay, this is 7 years old. You're like, whatever. You don't think about the electronics inside. It could be like the TV
Yeah.
malfunctioning or something like that. And so after that, then it's like I went and turned it off, but the thing is, I had a feeling that the lamp was moving towards me at that time, same period. I'm like, what the heck? I mean, because you just get that feeling that you feel that you're being watched, you
Mm-hmm.
feel like something's moving, and so then I just continue on, and all of a sudden the TV popped right back on again. I'm like, okay, now I'm pulling the plug. So I pulled the plug. And so, and then, and all this time still, that it felt the lamp is still moving closer and closer to me. And finally, the TV popped back on. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to hurry up, get done playing the pool. And as I went back with the stick, sure enough, that lamp was standing right next to me.
What?
Yeah. So 2 paranormal events in one place at one time. Scared the shit out of me. I went straight up the stairs. I'm like, never doing this ever again. But I
Wow.
mean, that was, I mean, for 7 years old. That hits pretty hard when you have something
Yeah,
like that
definitely.
happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we got some questions in here yet?
No, Amy was saying that light as a feather, stiff as a board worked for her and her friends.
There you
No, I
go.
never tried that. We did the
I
whole
don't think she did
Ouija
either.
board thing at the sleepovers,
Mhm.
and we kind of added to it because it was my cousin's house, and she decided that she was going to be funny and rent Witchboard while we played the Ouija board. And yeah, no, that didn't work well for them. I sat back and watched. Not sucker, you can't.
Absolutely. Okay, so was it tube TV? Yeah, it was. It was a very old tube TV. I mean, black and white. It wasn't even color. So, um, yeah.
Oh.
But I mean, later on in life, I mean, you know, okay. Did anything like the Blair Witch scare any of you guys here?
I think the
Cynthia,
first time that I saw it,
it
it's
scared
kind
the
of
shit
creepy.
out of me.
Yeah.
Number one, it really kind of sucks because I was one of the lame ones that fell for it and thought it was real.
I was the
I did
same way.
too. I did too because I was
Until
just like, oh my God, like I have family that lives in Maryland. Like I need to find out where this is. Like we can't go there. No, I was one of those ones that fooled for it.
until Roland showed me, my late husband showed me at the end of the movie where it says, all of the characters are fictional, yada 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 yada. That disclaimer. He
Mm-hmm.
goes, there, read that.
Who
And I'm
stuck
like,
around to read that though?
you just killed my interest in this movie. What did you just do? But no, because I was sitting there. So I am a practicing eclectic witch. So I'm sitting there throughout the movie, just glued to it, trying to figure out what the little stick figures are and what the little things in the grass
Blair
are.
Witch.
And actually no, there are other things. I will talk to you about that later.
Oh, sorry. I thought she was
But
for the
like
movie.
once they found like the little stick packages and stuff, I'm like, dude, don't touch that. Don't touch that. You don't know what's in there. Don't touch that. Screaming at the TV. My husband is laughing at me the entire time.
Oh man.
So it wasn't so much scared as it was doing the whole facepalm thing because they just kept walking into things they shouldn't have.
Right? Seeing the things dangling in the trees, I'm like, oh, jeez, what next?
I wanted one of those stick figures for the longest time.
I'm sure you can still get one. I'm surprised they haven't done a reboot on that yet.
I can actually make them if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
Cheaper too.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think that's the first movie like it's in its kind to be the way it was, hand camera the whole time. Like Paranormal Activity, same way, but the Blair Witch got it first.
Are you sure?
I think so.
I want to say there was one before the Blair Witch, but I'm not 100%.
I could be wrong too. I mean,
We'll
I'm
have
not
to
afraid
look
to be.
that up.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
Subjects for our next Freaky Squeaky.
There you go. That's right. I'm gonna start looking all week. So yeah, I mean that movie freaked the crap out. In fact, I think I mentioned to you that I had my first instance with experience with the old hag syndrome after that movie. I don't know what it is, and that's caused by a lot of stress, correct?
It can be sleep paralysis. If you are under a lot of stress, if you are not feeling well. A lot of that can mess with your head. Um, other things can also mess with you with sleep paralysis, and that's kind of what causes the old hag. Um, Roland had issues with that as well,
Mm-hmm.
but he actually woke up with scratches. So
Oh, see, I didn't have that. I just felt like it was on top of me, and I couldn't get rid of it.
yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Amy, that would be the ring, right? The girl in the
Hmm.
well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I wanted to say the grudge, but no, that's the one that comes out of the ceiling.
The Grudge comes out of the TV, I think, too,
No,
doesn't it?
the ring comes out of the TV.
I thought the
Samaya,
Grudge. I'm
Samaya's
thinking.
the one, or
I guess it's been a while since I've seen
Samara.
a Grudge. My
Yeah.
bad. And listen to me, I watch movies like crazy, and I forget these things. It's been so long since I watched them. So, hey, Penny. So, uh, well, let's see what else.
Back to the subject.
Well, yeah, we'll get to the subject. So here we go, and here will be the paranormal question of the day. So, if the kids are into the paranormal and, they're very interested at a young age, how important is it to start them early and start them off right? That is the paranormal question of the day.
So
Missy?
I guess
Oh,
my
I'm
question.
sorry. Was that supposed to be like
Yep, that's your
Yeah,
that's your
I'm,
question.
that's
Sorry,
that was
kind of
my
your
cue?
cue.
that was
I
your
was just
cue.
like, I thought you
I
were
don't
in
do it very
charge of
well.
people.
I don't
And
do it very well.
I kind of want to add to that too.
Go ahead.
At what age did you start your kids out?
So it's always something that they've just been around. It's something that, we never hid anything or kind of kept it like quiet. So they've always just been exposed to it. I would say that, it kind of goes in and out of like their focus, and it's not like it's a constant thing. We do watch a lot of the TV shows together. We have haunted items. Like I said, when we do our monthly meetups, they're there. A a part of it sometimes, or they're off doing kind of puzzles or something like that, or playing games during it. But when they want to be involved, they're involved. So yeah, it's kind of something that they've always been around, at any age. And kind of going back um, to the question, the paranormal question of the day, I think it is kind of important to have just to be open. I think it's kind of like that with all parenting aspects. Is kind of if they've got questions, you want to be open and honest. And sometimes we kind of, when they have certain questions that we don't know the answer to, because there's so many questions in the paranormal that we're not experts. Like, this is, we don't know yet. So we kind of sometimes will ask it with a question and be like, what do you think? And hearing their ideas and their thoughts on certain things. When we do investigating with them, it's very child led,
Mm-hmm.
where, we kind of let them, go to where they want to go, using the tools that they want to use. Um, Asking the questions when we're doing EVP sessions, like kind of let them guide it. So it kind of gives them like a sense of that they are actively involved in it, and to kind of get their interest even more. And also, one thing that with the paranormal that is kind of like my biggest thing with the paranormal is the history. And my kids have just, they gobble that stuff up. Like they think that it's so amazing how not only can you hear the story, and then you can put a face to the story, like see the location,
Mm-hmm.
and then experience possible spirits that were from the history. Like, like we experienced that in Gettysburg. We experienced that down down in Salem, Massachusetts, at Parsonsfield Seminary, one of our local favorite haunted hotspots. So there's just a lot of things that kind of just pique their interest and just want them to keep diving more into it. Other than just, I don't think that it's scary, and I'm sure you guys don't either, but just kind of like the paranormal aspect. There's so much more layers to it all.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Patricia. So before you got your kids, doing the paranormal stuff with you, have you exposed them to the paranormal shows beforehand, or is that like later on and they finally start kind of getting into some of that?
Yeah, like I would just have it on for background stuff, like nothing crazy. Like I have like old DVDs like of like ghost hunters and everything like that, so I'd pop them on. Like it's something that's always been there. They definitely like to call out bullshit when they see it on TV.
Good.
And they definitely know that it's not what it is on TV, and they know firsthand that it isn't. And they definitely like to call out stuff when they see it. So I'm
That's a good
proud.
thing,
I'm
though.
proud.
Yeah.
No, it definitely is. You know, I'm very. They like to use their voice.
Well,
And,
that's a good thing.
and
I mean, you can be strong to feel with that.
Yeah.
it is. And that's one thing that I was going to ask you is, do you sit down and talk about the shows? The
Oh yeah.
reason why I ask that is we've had a couple of residential cases, and I won't go into everything on those, but the children are just, I mean, the kids are from anywhere from 4 to 6, and they know every single paranormal term. They know everything off of the TV shows. They think everything off of the TV shows is real.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, and I'm not going to repeat the word because I don't want one outside my window, but this child knew what a Winnebago was.
We
Mhm.
have those fests here.
Hmm. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
know what you're talking about.
Okay. This child knew what one of those was. And this child is 5 years old. My issue with that is I don't think that the parents actually sat down and explained to them, you know, hey, this is what goes on, this is what this is what that is, you know, what's what would your advice be to parents like that when they're going to get when they have children that are interested in the paranormal at that young age?
Oh, geez. See, I would just say, just to they it sounds like maybe sometimes that they need to kind of do their research and maybe not necessarily go off of what you're seeing on TV and not necessarily like um social media, sometimes even the internet. Sometimes it's best just to go old school and get some books, research. Um that's kind of what I would say. And there's a ton, like surprisingly, there's a lot of books out there geared toward for children in this
Mm-hmm.
field.
Hmm.
And my kids, they're not super big readers, but these a few of them are kind of interactive books where it kind of gets them thinking a little bit deeper, and kind of gets them to be more into it. So um, there's so many resources out there, and again, I would definitely stay away from television, social media, what you're hearing from people that claim that they know it all, and even sometimes, like I said, even the internet. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm definitely old school when it comes to that type of stuff,
That's
and
good
just
though.
very even hesitant of stuff that I like read online because you don't know like
Mm-hmm.
where it's coming from. Like I, and then again, like how can you scientifically say that X, Y, and Z is true when you can't even pr- prove it? This like
Right.
you
Right.
know, but
And didn't you have an 8-year-old come up to you at a paranormal event, Cynthia?
8-year-old? No, I had a 6-year-old.
Oh, okay, 6-year-old.
I think he was 6 or 7. I don't think he had turned 8 yet. But oh, this kid was just, again, it's an so me and myself personally, I don't think that young kids should be out investigating. I
mhm,
mean, taking them to someplace like a battleship, or someplace with history or something like that, and letting them incorporate a little bit of the EVP thing, that's
mhm,
fine. But when this child can tell you more about a K2 than you can, you know, when this child thinks that he wants to get a Ouija board because he wants to go summon Zozo.
Yeah.
That should tell you something right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think that it kind of comes down to also like maturity level. Like if
Yeah.
the kid, like, you know, my kids, once again, like they've been around this their whole entire life. And, when we have times like we've done investigations or we've done events and, the kids just aren't into it or it's just too overwhelming, it just,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree that maturity level kind of comes into play. And also, like, if they can't respect the tools and the history and the location, then I just don't know if maybe they just need to wait a little bit. Like, I think that that's something that we kind of drill into our kids from the very beginning is respect for all of it, even people's opinions about locations and different types of haunts is that you kind of have to give respect. You may not necessarily believe it, but you've got to be open minded and respectful to their beliefs. How, because I obviously we want that for people when they look at us because we're very open with our children when it comes to that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So real quickly,
Yeah,
Darren's
go
probably
ahead.
gonna kill me because now I'm thinking of questions here.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. For once, it's
So,
somebody else besides me.
so I guess one of the questions I have then is when you do go out on investigations, how do you choose the location that you're going to, and what do you consider a location that would not be good to take your children to?
so I kind of going back to the maturity thing. I don't think that there is a location out there that I wouldn't bring my kids to. I think it just comes down to if they're mature enough to be able to go. Like if they are going to be in the right frame of mind. If I'm going to have to be like trying to redirect them all night, then maybe it's not like a good idea. But I can't say that there's not a location that I wouldn't feel comfortable with them going to. I know how, if at any point at the investigation, if my kids start feeling uncomfortable, they're just not into it, then we abort mission. We don't force them to do anything that they don't want to do. Like I said earlier, it's very child led. And it also goes to their comfort level too. When trying to pick a location, there's been my daughter's been to a few locations. One location that we all got to investigate as a family is the Gettysburg Orphanage. And we got to spend time there kind of just solo as a family. And we had the most phenomenal time. And it was great. And I think it was a great location because this was my youngest son's first location. He's 6. His first time being able to go into location and be able to investigate. And that's one thing that you kind of see in this field is that there's an age limit and age restriction for a lot of locations. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a big kind of tie, like a big kind of, I understand for insurance reasons. I understand for the company or the locations there. I understand and respect, their reasoning behind it. Um, but we've been very grateful to be able to get into the locations that we have with our children.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
like I said, I don't think that there'd be any place that I wouldn't like. I would bring my kids to the Conjuring house. It was one of the most beautiful homes that I've ever got to investigate, and the spirits there are very interactive and they love to talk. Like there's nothing crazy, malevolent, nothing there. Like it's a very comforting location.
what ages are your kids?
I have a 6, an 8, and 11-year old.
Okay.
And we had actually the best interaction, kind of going back to the Gettysburg. We had the greatest interaction where we had our kids kind of lead it. They wanted to play a game of jacks to kind of, bring some comfort, bring some familiar vibes to the location. And so me and my kids are playing down, sitting down playing jacks. The ball, it was my turn, and the ball went off like on my right side, went completely in the opposite direction because I suck at jacks. I don't have the patience for it. And so my daughter, who was sitting right next to me, she's like, "Do you mind rolling the ball back to us?" And sure as shit, that ball, which went that way, rolled right to her.
How cool.
It was just to see them being able to experience that and seeing them experience it, like it's kind of like a moment where you don't know where to look, like you want to look at the paranormal activity, but letting and seeing your kids being able to see that and see that, maybe they made someone's day by just, involving them into playing the game,
Mm-hmm.
giving some peace to these spirits, it's it's kind of cool in that aspect when you kind of think about having kids being a part of it. Like they may be bringing happiness to a lot of these spirits.
Right. So, what was your first location that you took your firstborn before you took the other ones along with you?
I would probably have to say Parsons Field Seminary. It's one of our local haunts. We do a lot of the fundraising investigations there.
Okay.
That would be one, and that's probably our favorite spot to go to. It's a beautiful location. It was the first seminary actually here in America. Excuse
Ah,
me. So it's got a lot of history. And
hey, Christy.
one thing that's so amazing about it is that there's no deaths on the property. So the people that haunt there are the people that loved the location and they wanted to stay. And I totally get it. It kind of just gives that vibe. And we've had a lot of great experiences there, and it's an
Wow.
awesome spot.
Yeah, it's I've never been there before, and there's I hear a lot about it and stuff from time to time.
Yeah.
So how with Gettysburg being as big as it is, and for as dramatic as it was, how well do they handle being in the field and stuff like that? Does some of that overtake them sometimes? Like it gets to be too much and they gotta back away at all?
No, we actually saw our all five of us. We all experienced seeing our first full body apparition while we were in Gettysburg. We were at Devil's Den, and we were kind of just there, kind of doing the touristy thing. Really, not like we were there, like it was getting later at night, but we were kind of letting the kids kind of get some extra energy out. And we were taking pictures and everything like that, and just hanging out. And we stumbled upon a couple, and they asked us if we were here ghost hunting, and my daughter was just like, "Yeah, we are," even though like we were, but we weren't. Like, we were just
Hmm.
happy just to be out there.
Right.
And she just like, "Well, look across at the field, and across the field is the slaughter pen." And so we look over, and there is a bluish, glowish form figure doing some type of formation. And it had disappeared, and then it came back a few moments later, and it was just on a loop, obviously a residual type haunting.
Hmm.
And my kids are just there, like their jaws are dropped, my jaws drop. My husband, Richie, kind of meets up with us shortly after, and like he's just looking at us like, "What are you guys doing?" Like looking like a bunch of idiots. And I just point to the field, and there it is. Like it it was amazing. Like we actually just had to finally walk away. Like after just standing there for, I don't even know, probably like 15-20 minutes, it was still doing it.
Oh man.
It was mind boggling. And there was probably us, that couple, and maybe another couple that were there, like a couple, and I think they might have had a kid with them as well. But it was
Hmm.
it was a really mind blowing experience.
Wow.
And one of those moments where I didn't know where to look, like look at my children having this experience,
Uh-huh.
like, or just look at what I'm experiencing, because I had never seen a full body apparition like that in my entire life. So it was
I
really
haven't seen
interesting.
one yet either.
It's
Cynthia,
creepy.
yeah. You
It's
want to
creepy.
add? You want to add anything?
Um, I mean, like she said, with the full body apparition, my guess would be it was probably doing patrol.
Yeah. It was just
And
doing normal, its
it's normal
routine.
rounds, yeah.
Mhm.
And as for the jaw drop, yeah, we were at Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum,
Mhm.
and we were on the haunted tour of that. I had taken my husband for his 50th birthday. That was part of his 50th birthday present, and we were downstairs in where they did all the lobotomies,
Mhm.
and
Ooh.
they have these big, huge. They look like giant sunrooms, but they used to line people up in beds and just go down the row and do lobotomies. And I was looking down the hall, and I looked real quick, and out of the corner of my eye, I caught a figure. He was probably, my guess would be 6'4", 6'5", dressed in the white, for lack of a better term, the white patient scrubs, the
Yeah, like
inmate
the hospital
scrubs.
gowns. Yeah.
Well, not even that. It was like the pants and the shirt type,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
like almost a permanent resident type.
Yeah.
And he had longer gray hair. And I looked down there, and he's just kind of staring at me. And I stopped, and I blinked, and he was still there. And I, went, and I was trying to get my husband's attention, and he looked down, and he was gone. I'm like, oh.
You missed it.
But it was creepy because he just kind of gave me that cocked head, what you doing type thing,
Yeah.
And it's like, if that thing comes running at me, I'm out. Done. Out.
Oh man, that's funny. So how often do you see? Is it more residual than intelligent hauntings, or is it kind of a mixture of both?
What? I'm sorry.
So when you go on your paranormal
Yeah.
investigations, do you find it's more intelligent, or do you find it's like residual, or more half and half?
I would say it's pretty split 50-50. We at Parsonsfield, I would say that is a really big residual type location, but there is definitely the intelligent interaction that we've gotten.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also say Gettysburg is obviously a big mix of bags of both. Um, yeah, I would say it's definitely split 50-50. And we also do so I'm also Paranormal 5, but we're also Maine Paranormal Society, which is the Maine TAPS family team. And even in those cases that we've done, it's split much in half, which I think is very common with all haunts to kind of get the split.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just I don't know. I really haven't really experienced too much in the locations I have gone to. I think more of Cambry was the one that really uh, has more action next to Malvern, you
Mhm.
know. Um, but that's just me. And Cynthia's been around for so long, so I'm sure she's seen her fair share of stuff that probably freaked the crap out of her, and probably never
Oh yeah.
wanted, you know.
Oh yeah. Um,
So
I think most of the places that Darren's been to, Edinburgh, you haven't been there yet.
not yet.
But
This is my chance.
Edinburgh is a lot of residual. It's not a lot of. There is intelligent, but there's more residual than intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
Malvern, I think there's more intelligent than there is residual. Um, Malvern likes to mess with your head. Um, for our school,
I didn't really get much there, except for my wife had her hair pulled.
I think that one again. That one's a lot more residual too. I think.
Yeah, we dealt with the principal a little bit, but not a whole
There
lot.
is a little bit of intelligence there, but I think more of that is residual stuff. Um,
I
I had
pissed that one off.
I had a question about Farrar just because of investigating other different schools and everything like that. Do you feel like the activity kind of quiets down at a certain point in the evening or in the investigation, or is it kind of steady?
um, I guess for me,
Hmm.
we've done for our 3 times now,
Hmm.
and it seems to be that it quiets down like in between, usually in between like midnight and 4 a.m.
Hmm.
is when you get less activity than what you would think.
Hmm.
Um, it actually really surprised me the first time that we ever investigated as a group with anybody, was Farrar, and we were going really good until about 11:30 ish, and then it started dying down, and everybody decided to go back to the safe room, and half of us decided we were going to go and take a nap, and my husband and a couple other people had gone back up to the second floor to
Hmm.
where the Mrs. Martin's room and the classrooms are,
Hmm.
and they were getting crazy activity up there at 4
Really,
a.m. Yeah,
really.
at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Maybe it was starting to pick back up again. Huh.
So I'm not 100%, and I'm not 100% sure where it came from. It was pretty wild because what it
Hmm.
was at first he was getting EMF spikes, but he put the EMF meter down on the floor, found out there was a light conduit on the floor,
Hmm.
on the other side, opposite side of the floor.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so that bummed him out. So he
Hmm.
took it and picked it back up and went down the hallway, and he got about halfway down to Miss Martin's room, and he was getting EMF hits, but they were spaced out like children in a line, and they were about child height off
Hmm.
the floor.
Huh.
And um, just to make sure that that's what he was getting, he had James, one of the guys with him, tell the kids to go down to the water fountain as he was holding the EMF meter to where the lineup of hits he was getting was. And it slowly disappeared.
Hmm.
So he walked down to the water fountain and picked it back up. So he had James tell the kids to walk from the water fountain back over to the classroom, and Roland went back and found it again.
Wow.
So
That's
that
interesting.
that made for some interesting stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But with Farrar, yeah, I think there is a certain time where it does die down.
Hmm.
And also with Farrar, certain people get certain results, you know?
I think that's like what kind of a general rule of thumb with a lot of different locations. You're coming
Yeah.
in with this a different intentions, different thoughts and ideas, and
Mhm.
even different styles of investigating. So
Mhm.
everybody's going to get something
Yep.
different and
Hmm.
experience something different.
And
Yeah.
just their energy alone is just can
Yeah.
make up a good
Hmm.
night or a bad night. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. I got to investigate a home here down in Haverhill, Massachusetts. It's called the Dustin Garrison House. It was built in 1690,
I think I've heard of that.
I have
1690
not.
something. I'm drawing a blank. It's an old New England home. And so I was investigating with a very small group, and one of my friends is kind of the caretaker, like he's actively involved in the board there. And
Mhm.
so we were there, it was probably like five of us. And talking about like this evil presence, like negative stuff up in the attic, and he wasn't sure like he'd wanted people to go up there solo or kind of like in small groups. And me and my other friend, we were just like, well, that's where we're gonna go. And it was definitely one of the most humbling. It was definitely a lot of Native American. That's kind of something that you see a lot here in New England is a lot of Native American spirit, which I'm sure it's probably like that everywhere. Um, but my friend who's very sensitive, was picking up a lot of that, and we were getting interaction um, in correlation with devices kind of going off with yes and no and everything like that. So it was a
Mhm.
really great experience. And I almost just feel like my good friend was kind of just coming in at a different angle, and just felt like his this spirit had a very strong presence. So maybe he was kind of picking up that the spirit was kind of making him feel like, this is like, I should be intimidated while I'm up here.
Right.
Like I should be kind of fearful while I'm up here.
Right.
But, when we went up there, it was so mellow, and it was it was very, like I said, it was very humbling. And actually we had come downstairs to check out one of the other smaller bedrooms that were up there, and in the attic door was right there, and I thought that I saw something kind of peek out, like, hey, where'd you guys go, like, come back up here. And
Mhm.
so I was just like, oh my gosh. So we were actually on a Facebook Live too. And so we were walking up, again, New England house, like stairs are like this small, like that narrow. And
Yep.
so we're going up, like literally like going like this to go climb up the stairs. And I was in the back, and my friend, she was doing the Facebook Live in the front. And as she gets up to the top of the landing, I hear like doot, 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 up the stairs right behind me. And I'm just like, oh, hey, so you're coming to follow us upstairs? Like, so again, I just, like you said, I think it really is just how your presence, how you, and sometimes, even if it feels kind of negative and stuff like that, the energy that you might be feeling, and that's what your kind of gut is telling you, it may just be the spirits just kind of being that strong presence. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mhm.
I,
And I tend to agree with that. I mean, it's like we did the Sally House,
mhm,
and everybody that I have talked to, everybody that I have had conversations with about the place, will never ever go back there, and they don't. They had such a negative, scary experience there that they will not go back. And
mhm,
when we went down, we didn't have that, you
mhm,
know? Um, yeah, we found the spot on the floor where she supposedly had the pentagram
mhm,
painted on the floor.
Oh, in the
Um,
basement?
yeah, in the basement.
Yeah.
mhm,
There was the hole in the wall in the back in the basement. Um, there was Sally's room. I think that's what they called it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, um, Darren was watching the live and was getting stuff off of that while we were out of the house having
Yep.
mhm.
supper. Um,
Yep. That was my
That's
first
interesting.
doppelganger.
yeah, we left a phone doing a live in
Yeah,
Sally's room while we left, and Darren was hearing my voice, and I was gone.
Yeah. It
that's
was like I
really
heard it in the
cool.
kitchen downstairs. I'm like, that's
Yeah,
your voice. That's your voice. And that was a pivotal moment for me in my paranormal experience. So like, holy crap.
That's
I'm
really
hearing
cool.
all
yeah,
this stuff. And
That's
it was
really
key to
cool.
have the ANC headphones on to hear all that too.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
super
I
cool to
mean,
have an experience and you weren't even there. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Like it was meant
yeah,
for me to hear it.
Yeah,
uh-huh. But I mean, we didn't get that negative.
yeah,
The
yeah.
only negative we really got were when my husband and Taylor, my tech guy, were down in the basement, and they weren't provoking, they were antagonizing but not provoking, because I don't let them go that far. But Taylor had said that he had felt like almost like a burning around his ankle on his foot.
Mm.
Came back upstairs, and it actually looked like there was a, a rope maybe that would have been tied around his ankle at one time.
Mhm.
He had that mark, but it didn't stay, and it wasn't, I mean, it didn't hurt him as
Mm-hmm.
per se. um the spirit that they were talking to down there was calling us names, because you had three witches in the house. You had myself, another friend of mine who is a practicing witch, and then another friend of mine who's a psychic medium. So you had the 3 witches in the house. So it was calling us every name in the book, but it never did anything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we got was, or I should say, that's all they got was on Necrophonic. They were doing an Estes method session in the basement, and it the name calling and negative stuff lasted for a whole 2 minutes, and it was done. So I mean, it all depends on, I guess I would have to agree that it does all depend on what you're looking for when you go in there. If you go in there looking for demons, you're going to find demons.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like with life. The energy that you're going to put out there is the energy that you're going to get back. Like, that's kind of just, and when it comes to investigating, like, I don't have any expectations. Like, I'm just like, I'm good if nothing happens. I'm just happy to be in the space investigating with my friends or investigating with my family. If we get something, that's awesome. I'm just grateful for the opportunity.
I'm all about that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess my last question for you is going to be this: with your kids, when you take your kids on an investigation with you, and you say that if they're not into it, you don't do it. Do your kids ever do you ever have to scrap an investigation in the middle of it because the kids decide they want to be kids and go play?
Well, okay, great example. A couple weeks ago, we had our Parsonsfield Seminary event, and my son, he wanted to go. He wanted to go. He's just like, I want to go and be a part of it. And I'm just like, it's kind of hard because, like, we have people that have paid to come to this event, and I want to make sure like everything's running smooth on top of watching my 8-year-old. So I was just like, I'll give you a chance, like, and he wasn't into it. But 2 weeks before that, we investigated the Oliver house, and he was like so focused and so into it. So again, I just think of the mood. Like, we all have moods when we're just not into things. Like, we all have just not today, like, type moment.
Right.
And I think that was kind of like his moment. Like, he seemed like he really wanted to do it, and then once he got there, he's just like, no, I'm all set.
Yeah, and again, the reason why I ask is I have been to events and I have seen events where they've had 10, 11, 12-year-old kids, and about halfway through, they lose interest in the investigation part and they just want to go be kids and play.
Yeah.
So
yeah, my daughter, she's all into it, and any investigation, she pretty much just runs our groups, because obviously, like, when we do our events, we'll break people up into groups and they'll rotate, and she pretty much just runs the group. She's in charge. Like, she's the boss. It's kind of funny to see like that kind of dynamic, and like when there's locations that like either she can't come to because of either her age, or if it is a residential home like that we're doing with Maine Paranormal Society, like she can't come, and she's just like, really, like, all upset and mad at us and stuff like that. So we're very lucky that there's a lot of great locations that we can bring our kids to here in New England. And that we've grown connections with either the caretaker or the people that run the location, that they're very open because they know us personally now, and they've met the kids and know that they're into doing this. But yeah, kids are kids. Like, that's another thing. Like, I go in there like with no expectation. Like, I expect that, they're not going to want to be into it, but they really do surprise me sometimes. So.
So now you got the paranormal cons and conventions and psychic and paranormal conventions also. Do you take your kids and have a table and do stuff like that in
Yeah.
other locations?
So yeah, actually, so we have been a part of Maine Parafest up in Vassaboro, Maine. Our good friends from Grim Paranormal, They put that on, and so we've been there. And same thing with we actually ran. We did a paranormal convention down here in southern Maine back in November of last year, which was a really great success. We weren't sure because you never know with the first year with these type of events and stuff like that. And the kids actually ran a kids table where they had tattoos and prizes, and my daughter was selling these bracelets that she was trying to get because she wanted to build more tools to get more tools for her toolbox, for her paranormal equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So all the money was going to be going towards that. Yeah, so they ran a kids table at the event, which was awesome. So,
Cool.
Very
yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Very
and
nice.
if there's any obviously down in our area, yeah, we love bringing our kids to those so they can meet people and feel involved into it, like in all different aspects, just not the investigating.
Mm-hmm. So, do the kids have like a favorite experiment they like to do on these investigations, or do they just like digital voice recorders and and
Mhm.
dowsing rods and that's it?
Mhm. Well, I would have to say we don't like we love our gear, we love our tech, but we're definitely old school when it comes to investigating. We love just voice recorders. I think
Thanks,
that's
Amy.
the best. I think that's the best evidence that you can get. My daughter actually does have a pair of dowsing rods, and we do
I
also
love
do.
my dowsing rods.
Yeah, we're not really big spirit box people. Where that's just not our cup of tea. Like no judgment for people that do it. It's just something that we just don't
Yeah, it's not
use.
for everybody. I mean,
Yeah,
I hate
and
listening to white noise.
yeah, that's kind of my thing. So they're. I would say that they love doing. I think that they like doing the audio recorder because it just they're really in control. They get to ask the questions. They can come up with the questions, and if they get EVPs back, like their minds are just blown. Um,
Have the spirits
so
ask them questions?
no, I don't know. I don't think that we've ever gotten that. We've gotten like the no or the like. It's really cool to kind of get responses like for the kids. We've gotten a couple. It's few and far in between, as you guys know, like with
Mm-hmm.
investigating. But
Oh yeah.
I got one in my last one.
yeah, so it's really cool. But yeah, my daughter loves using dowsing rods and pendulums. Same thing with my other guys too. So I think that's one where they can kind of trust their intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And that when they're feeling or picking up on something, I'm just like, use the dowsing rods. Like, ask them, you know,
Right.
so they kind of
S-
validate how they're feeling. So
Absolutely. So, do you have a bucket list, and the kids have a bucket list that they want to go to?
yeah, so my daughter's is definitely the Conjuring house. She just wants to get there just because I think of just the hype that you hear about it and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my son, I don't really know he's just kind of like, I'm good wherever I go. Like I, I'm not sure if he really has like one. And same thing with my other son. He's 6, so he's not like really like, oh my gosh.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but I would say like, I don't even know. Like for me personally, I don't know. Like I would love to get to Myrtle's Plantation. Like that's what I grew up watching. Like on
You
like
would love
haunted
it.
TVs. Like the ghost shows. Like even before like Ghost Hunters. Like you would hear about Myrtle's Plantation and everything like that.
We did a day
The
tour.
Whaley
It was
House.
gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine. And then
And the
obviously,
whaling.
oh, like yeah, I would just those would be I would be just mind blown. Again, just to go and do a day tour, like I'm just like I'm good with that. I'll bring my voice recorder, leave it
Mm-hmm.
on the entire time. I'm good. Like
The Whaley house is surprisingly smaller than what you would think.
yeah, yep. I've heard that. I've heard that.
Um, my husband was from California, so we've done tours in a lot of the bigger places.
Hmm.
Trans Allegheny, Whaley House, Queen Mary, Winchester. We've done. Oh boy,
Brain
all
fart.
over,
I know. I was just about to say that.
all over.
Oh, it's
Tons
awesome.
of day tours and stuff, and you see places like the Whaley House, and you see places like the Queen Mary, and you're like, oh my God, these places have to be like ginormous. The Whaley House is tiny.
Yep.
The Sally House is tiny.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing the difference that TV makes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, in many aspects.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So I think we're getting close to the top of the hours here, but Missy, you want to let everybody know what your next upcoming events are and
Yeah.
investigations and where they all can find you at?
Yeah, so I'm so super excited because we actually have two locations this year that we are actually three locations now that I think about it. Three locations that we are doing our fundraising, public fundraising investigations. Excuse me. We're going to be doing the Portland Irish Heritage Center in Portland, Maine, Wilson Castle in Proctor, Vermont, and also, excuse me.
It's
I think
contagious.
I know, right? I was just thinking that.
I
Um,
haven't coughed yet.
it's coming.
Yeah.
Ladies first, and then it's your turn. um, and then also another great location that really isn't well known that kind of just came into our lap. It's called the J. Richard Martin Community Center. It's mind blowing the activity that we've gotten there. Like right off the bat. Like, so we were doing those fundraising investigations for those buildings. Again, all that money goes back to those locations to help maintain it and kind of give thanks for them to being open to paranormal investigating. And then, yeah, and then there will probably be another paranormal convention that I am planning in March. I'm very crazy and I like to stress myself out with all these events. And so that's in the works. But people can follow us over at Paranormal Five on Facebook, and then also Maine Paranormal Society as well. Definitely give them a follow, and we have an open group with Maine Paranormal Society where we post all of our local paranormal teams here in Maine, their events and everything like that. One thing that I'm very grateful for here in Maine is that all the paranormal teams work together. We're a mixed bag of crazies and we love getting together and doing events together and helping each other out on events and even just hanging out. You know, we have a good time here in Maine. We're very spoiled. We got a good group of investigators.
That's one good thing you want to have.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It
yeah,
makes the experience all that much better.
yeah. No, it definitely is paranormal unity at its best here in Maine. So we're spoiled.
Absolutely. Well, it is top of the hour, and I thank you, Missy, for joining us tonight on the Paranormal Question Day. It's a lot of fun. Definitely have you back with Richie on with you, and that way people can
Yeah,
meet Richie and stuff.
yeah. He's a fun time too sometimes.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. He's got. Is he more the tech person in your group?
Yeah, I would say that he's probably like he's technically the tech manager for Maine Paranormal Society. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just because he's just fascinated. Like he's not like a really a techie guy when it comes to like technology, but when it comes to like paranormal equipment and all that stuff, he's like, yeah, all about it. I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
like, whatever. You do you, boo.
yeah, yeah.
I'll
See,
be in
I'm
the
all
corner with
about
my voice recorder.
yeah. See, I'm all about experiments and doing different things,
Oh
and
yeah. No, we definitely love doing experiments. Yeah, it's fun.
so outside the box thinking. Cynthia knows
Yeah.
all about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We do it too. It's fun.
So, all right. Well, I thank everybody for joining us tonight. This was the Paranormal Five. We'll have them back on later on down the road. And for Cynthia and Missy, you have been
Thank you so
watching the
much.
Paranormal Brew Network and the BB3 TV network. Also, we are on MGS Paranormal YouTube channel. So give us a follow and like. I greatly appreciate that. And for everybody, I bid you adieu. So long, everybody.